If you are a subscriber or viewer to my channel, I'm pretty sure that you've seen these videos I've made about underrated banks in Nigeria. And if you haven't, I would encourage you to go and watch them right now. You can check the description box below to see some of the content I've made about this, or check out my channel page and you'll see them there. Now, after reviewing all of these banks, there is one common problem that I've noticed in almost all of them. Now, the main problem that I noticed with these banks is that a lot of banks do not have the options to transfer to them, and even the banks themselves may not have the option to transfer amongst themselves. Like, if you get what I mean, like, let me try to use an example. So, for example, now, there's one of the banks that I talked about in this series called Capital Metric. So, essentially, I have Polaris Bank, which is a commercial bank in Nigeria, and I wanted to essentially transfer money from my Polaris bank account to Capital Metric. And what happened was that when I tried to essentially make a transfer, it didn't work at all, because what happened was that, like, when you're trying to fill out the details to transfer and everything on the Polaris Bank app, the option for Capital Metric is there, but then when I tried to put in my account number, my name wasn't popping up, which is weird because for Polaris, before you can transfer money, the name of that person has to show up. And in this case, my name didn't show up at all, which I saw as pretty weird. I was thinking that, hey, maybe it's a network issue or something. So I tried to transfer to another bank, and this time it actually worked because my name was showing. But for Capital Metric, I noticed that it wasn't working at all. So I had to end up transferring money out from my Polaris to my Wema bank, and then from my Wema bank to my Capital Metric account. Now, this is a very huge problem because now, if somebody actually wanted to use this bank and someone wanted to transfer money to them, it might not be possible. Now, major banks in Nigeria actually do have the option to transfer to all those lesser known banks, but however, not every bank may have that option. Now, as I said earlier, most of these banks had this problem. So let me use another bank as an example. So there's this bank that I talked about in my underrated bank series called Ellington Bank. So essentially, out of all the banks that I primarily use, I couldn't find the option to transfer to Ellington on any of them except for my Wema bank account. That was the only bank that could transfer to there. And it's a big issue because now, if somebody used another bank and they wanted to transfer to somebody who was using Ellington, they wouldn't see that option there, which is really messed up in my opinion. In fact, there's this other bank that I even talked about in my video called Pristine Dividends. Now, this is a very underrated bank, and what happened was that with my Wema bank, I tried to transfer money into my Pristine Dividends account. Now, the option for Pristine Dividends was there, but however, when I tried to transfer money on my Wema app, I couldn't find my name at all because whenever I put my account number there, my name wouldn't show up at all. And this was very, very weird because Wema is a bank that can transfer to essentially almost all of these underrated banks. But then in this case, I couldn't transfer money there because my name wasn't popping up. It was saying invalid and everything, which I saw as weird. So I had to end up using my Kuda bank account to be able to transfer money into my Pristine Dividends account. Like, do you get what I mean? And as I said earlier, even these banks may not be able to transfer amongst themselves. Like, for example, you can use a bank like Zikora Bank, and you may want to transfer to a bank such as Moneyfield Bank, and you will try to transfer money there, but then the option is not showing there. In fact, for this Zikora Bank, there's even one issue I noticed where now that I wanted to transfer to a money point account. But here was the issue. I couldn't find the money point option there at all. And it was really, really crazy because Money Point is one of the biggest microfinance banks in Nigeria. Everyone has their POS, many people have their app and everything. So you cannot miss Money Point. It's so weird that a bank like this does not have Money Point at all. And the issue with this whole thing is the fact that for all these banks now, if these banks have this lesser compatibility, then it makes people to see these banks as less desirable and they'll go to the bigger ones that work. So my advice for these smaller banks is this: try to aim to get way more compatibility so that way it will be easy for people to actually find these banks and transfer easily without them having to go through different steps and all that type of stuff. Because in Nigeria, people want convenience. Nobody wants to go up and down, left and right, that type of stuff. If you get what I mean, people want something that is easy and straightforward, not something that they have to cut through corners and do all that type of stuff. If you get what I mean. Now, this video here isn't to say that you shouldn't use these banks at all. No, my reason for even making this series is because I want people to know more about these, apart from just using all the big banks and everything. There's nothing wrong with the big banks though, but I still want people to actually know more about these. But then I believe that they should try to aim for more compatibility so that way it makes it easier for customers to actually want to use them more, to make them more desirable. Anyway, that is all for today's video. If you've watched my underrated bank series, which of these banks is your favorite? And if you have any other things to add to this, please comment below. And as always, I hope I see you guys next time.